Welcome to the Healthy Hustling Podcast. I am with a good friend of mine today, Chelsey Langley. She is the owner of Paper Plane Therapies, and she is an occupational therapist and specializes in pediatrics. And today we are going to be talking about some stress management techniques for children and parents both, and how you could use these techniques in your life, especially during this quarantine and while we're all kind of bunched together and a lot more, there's less, I would say, separation and alone time for kids and parents, just because kids aren't going to school and everyone's in the house all together 24/7. So we're going to talk about that. And so first off, though, just want to give a shout out to a couple of sponsors that we got. We have Hyperice. So big shout out to Hyperice. They have their Hypervolt. If you've ever seen that, it's an amazing massage gun and it's a percussion device. So athletes can use this on themselves to help improve circulation, improve mobility. It's great for a warm up and a cool down. So definitely check out Hyperice. And there will be a code at the end for you to use, and you can get 15% off Hyperice products. In addition to that, they'll also donate 15% back to the local gyms in West Michigan. So some CrossFit boxes there. And then our other sponsor is Gentleman's Box. Gentleman's Box is based out of Detroit, Michigan. They are a premium subscription box service for men's fashion. And they are just doing a lot right now to help men feel good, dress good. Just because you're in a quarantine doesn't mean that you shouldn't feel good and dress good. And their most recent box is featuring some different health and wellness things. It's got a yoga mat, a scale. They've got all top end products in there and just a really good product and an awesome subscription box service that they feature. So check out the Gentleman's Box for sure. And we'll be featuring a code at the end for them as well. So you can get a discount on them. And then just one more thing on Gentleman's Box. I've actually spoken with them and the owner, John Haji, and Gentleman's Box is going to be giving a certain percentage of their profits towards a charity for mental health. So that'll be featured at the end as well. So just some awesome stuff that they're doing, and it really goes right with what we're talking about as far as mental health, and hopefully Belle doesn't squeak this toy in my ear the whole time. So let's get right off to it. So thanks for hopping on here, Chelsey. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit. You're based in Grand Rapids, Paper Plane Therapies. Yep. Give us, I guess, your story. How did you get started with doing your own business with kids and everything like that?
I love it. Sure. So I think, we went to school together, and everybody who goes into healthcare has this desire to help people. And we all went into different professions that do that in a little bit of a different way. And so I'm an OT, and that focuses on people being able to do the things that are meaningful to them and purposeful for functional lives. And I really liked OT because it was kind of creative in the sense that you have to identify these barriers that stand in people's way of living the lives that they want to live. So I went to school, and I was really thinking I wanted to do neuro. I wanted to do like stroke and spinal cord and rehab. So people who have experienced these really tragic accidents or are facing adversity with their physical health. I wanted to do rehab in that capacity. And my last internship was a pediatric rotation. I just really, really fell in love with it. And so when I graduated, I started working in private practice, and I worked there for about a year and a half as an independent contractor, and just felt kind of a nudge in myself personally and professionally. I wasn't where I wanted to be. And I just kind of had this idea in my head of what a practice would look like if I had my own practice, but I was really young. So I had like no business doing something like that in theory. And so anyways, I just found myself kind of wrestling with that and this restlessness of feeling like I was called to do something different than what I was doing. And so I started seeing kids in their home, which is their most natural environment, and building my caseload that way. And it was difficult because I was spending like 6-7 hours in the car to see a sprinkle of clients, and my caseload was building. And so my husband and I kind of had the conversation of like, we either need to go all in or like consider something else, because it just wasn't, it wasn't working the way that it was. And so we saved for a really long time. So if it like all fell apart, it would be okay. And I opened my first brick and mortar, and that was in early 2016 that we opened that. And then shortly thereafter, about a year after being in practice by myself, I had a speech partner want to bring her business so that we could work together, because speech and OT and pediatrics really complement each other quite nicely, especially for the populations that we work with.
Yeah, they really
and from there, we've just grown. So now we're at 10 or 11 therapists. And what I love about the practice that we've built is it has this sense of intimacy to it, where it's really small and it doesn't feel like some of the larger facilities, and you really can take the time to establish relationships with these families. And so I feel like so many of those kids are like my own kids now, and like I just have really, really great relationships with our clientele, and our team is so invested in like loving on these kids really well. And so it just feels really personable. And that's the way that we wanted it. We don't plan to get much bigger. Like, we like the size that we are, and we just feel like we're able to, being in private practice, deliver these services that are high quality and personable and not rushed. And it's just been a really good thing for us. So that's how I got into peds. Within peds, there's different like categories that you can work in. And so we see a ton of kiddos that have an autism diagnosis. We do a lot of physical disability, but my personal caseload is a lot of emotional regulation and trauma. So, we're kind of facing this unresolved stress right now with the COVID-19 crisis going on. And so a lot of this, what I do for work, is getting reframed for the situation that we're facing now. And there's such a huge correlation between your engagement in meaningful and purposeful activity and your overall mental health. And right now there's just a huge barrier put on our ability to engage in the occupations that we were previously engaging in, for parents and kids. Yeah. And even like the things that we can continue to do, like some of our jobs, that looks drastically different, and the platforms look different. And so it's just, I think, acknowledging that, like, if we don't have that ability to engage in really purposeful activity, that we'd be remiss to think that there's not going to be an impact on our mental health. So I feel pretty strongly about the mental health aspect of our health, keeping our bodies healthy, but keeping our minds healthy as well.
I think that just in the physical realm, right? Like, as far as like PT, OT, like a lot of people think of PT and OT as being strictly physical and about your physical well-being, but so much of it is honestly education and mental health. And there's such a strong mental health component that not a lot of people really get. And you're exactly correct in terms of like, when you take away the things that people enjoy and they no longer can do it and they feel restricted. I mean, I would argue that everyone's mental health in this country has already been affected. And I think we've done I shouldn't say a good job, but we've done an okay job of acknowledging that mental health is just as important as physical health. And we're starting to kind of make this turn into how to address it, how to take away some of these stigmas and everything like that. And I think that's what I'm really excited to talk to you about, is what are you seeing with, is it kids more than parents right now, the families that you're working with that are dealing with as far as, any moods or mental health issues? Is it both? Are they both being affected equally? How would you say it's affecting the families?
Sure. I think I can only speak to the people that I'm currently working with in my own family situation and the people who I love, who I'm staying in contact with. But I think it's everybody. The way that kids develop is they learn from the experiences that they're experiencing, but they're also learning from how the safe adults in their life are responding, or adults in general in their life are responding. That's how they're going to learn, and that's how they're going to build this foundation of moving forward and knowing how to handle situations. For grown-ups, though, it's almost like we're kids again, because we've never experienced anything like this. We've got past life experiences that we can draw tools from that maybe our kids don't. But I don't think we can separate the two, because it's a parent's job to share a calm with our kid. And if we're not regulated, then our child can't be expected to regulate. So I'm seeing it kind of across the board, both the kids and the parents. But the change in establishing a sense of regulation within the home has to come from the parent, the person with more life experience in general, just not quarantine life.
Well, the kids,
so it's across the board.
Kids are always looking up to parents. They're always looking to adults and the older siblings as far as to model their behavior, right? And what's right, what's wrong, what should I do, how to live your life, what lifestyle choices are you making? What healthy lifestyle choices are you making? And at the same time, which poor lifestyles are you making? So in terms of, I guess, some stress management techniques, like how do you separate right now? Like everyone's stuck in a home together. Like do parents deal with it? How do you typically recommend? And how do like kids, obviously having them play is going to be a huge help to them as far as stress relief and reducer and everything like that. But what do you recommend typically for both?
So I do think it's going to have to start with acknowledgement that probably our own minds and health are going to have to be addressed first. There's that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. And so we're in this situation where we're quarantined at home. From my personal experience as a mom of young kids and a wife, if I'm not taking care of, and a business owner, if I'm not taking care of my mental health, my physical health, I'm an impatient mom. I'm not present. I'm not a loving wife. I'm a really disorganized business owner. It's not my best self. So I think where we have to start is there. We have to start in just observing how we're feeling, how we're processing the information around us, and how our kids are processing what's going on.
So like self-reflection, is that kind of what you're talking about there? Just kind of like recognizing, like, am I more irritable? Because I know that I get like that. Like if I get hangry, for example, like it's not good, let alone like I'm trapped in a house all day with my wife and love my wife. She's great. But sometimes, we will then start to butt heads just because we like can't get away and everything like that. So, that's
life is different. So I think that mindfulness, like you said, just acknowledging that things are different. Things are different and things feel different. And even if we're being productive, like, are we engaging meaningfully in the situation that we're in? I think acknowledging that comes first, but then I also think we acknowledge it and then we have to have a plan. So like, there's two things that I can think of that for me that I'm noticing are like directly impacting my parenting and my relationships right now. And I think one of them is so many things feel out of control. So taking back a little piece of control. For me, it's a morning routine. So instead of feeling like I'm on my heels and I'm reacting to the day, I am taking control of my day and speaking like affirmation over my day of what I want it to look like, and just setting a tone of positivity when I have not done it, which, let's be honest, more days this quarantine, the days that I have struggled, I have not done that. And the days that I have, it's a completely different tone, a completely different perspective. For sure. So that's one thing that I really encourage parents to do, is like carve out that time that's sacred just for you, that you're not responsible for those little people, and process what is going on just with you. Yeah. And I think another thing that I'm seeing a lot of with parents of school-aged kids, especially, but I feel, and myself, and I've got 2 young kids, I'm sure people without kids are feeling this way. There is so much content to consume, and a lot of it's not helpful. right now. So
Right.
I've set rules in place for myself, and we set rules in place for the kids too, of like what goes in our mind. Be careful what our eyes see, be careful what our mind sees. That it is true and that it is helpful. And so I need enough information that's true and helpful to make decisions for myself, my family, and my community. And outside of that right now, there's not a whole lot more that I need. So I don't need to know everybody's opinion in high school about how this is impacting them, or what
You
all the
don't? You don't want
emotion
to know everyone's
filled
opinion?
opinion pieces. Yeah, because not that I'm saying I don't value their
No,
opinions, but
I,
right now, to
yeah.
protect my mind and my brain, I just can't consume that content. Or if you're a mom that's trying to navigate, or a dad that's trying to navigate homeschooling right now, and Susie on Instagram has all of these color-coded schedules and is just nailing that homeschool game, that's not helpful. It's just not helpful. And so I think that we confuse like the time that we're spending worrying about things as being productive. Like, I am such a culprit of that. Like, give me all the information so that I'm the most informed. But if it's not true and if it's not helpful, am I really, or am I just spinning my wheels worrying? And if that's the content that I'm putting in and I'm becoming anxious and I'm putting myself in fight or flight, better believe that that's the day my kid's going to have more tantrums, because I'm not present, I'm not available, and I'm not paying attention to what the powerful thing that I am in charge of right now. And that's helping our kids learn to navigate this. So I think that's kind of where it starts with parents. There's also, another strategy I think that's really important right now that we would preach, whether we are in quarantine or not, as therapists for children, is establishing flexible routines and finding that balance between, Daniel Siegel is a child psychiatrist, and he talks about being in this river, this flow that is our life, between a shore of rigidity, which doesn't allow creativity or problem solving or true learning, and pure chaos, which isn't good for any of us.
Right.
And so allowing that beautiful in between to happen. And so I think there's a couple things we can do for that, for scheduling for our kids and providing anchors throughout the day. But then between those anchors, lots of opportunity to observe the stories that are coming out in their play. I would love to see the kids hands-on right now and see the themes that are coming out in their play, and how they're mimicking what we're going through.
Yeah.
But allowing some anchors in between the flexible times that the kids can go, no, I know that we do this together as a family. So like in our family right now, we have the privilege of staying home together and staying safe together. And we get to have every single meal together. That's not something we have ever gotten to do. So breakfast, lunch, dinner is together. And so that provides some structure for our day. And at those times, we've always prayed with our son before he goes to bed, but now we're praying breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then bedtime. So 4 times a day, our family is together. And he doesn't have very many words, but he knows now that when we sit down together, because we've been doing this, just yesterday, I noticed he goes, "Dear God, thank you." And just that practice of gratitude, where he's like 20 months old.
That's
that
awesome.
Practice of gratitude, we know that like research shows like you can't be joyful without like an active gratitude practice. So really, I think speaking some positivity into your home and over your home right now with your kids can be super helpful too, and just framing how they're viewing everything. So that's 2 things that I can think of. I think, taking control of your day, and then those flexible routines.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great. And that's awesome that your 20-month-old son is already, practicing gratitude. And that's huge. I like to do, so my business coach, every call that we get on, the first thing we start off with is gratitude. And as far as you talked about, oh my gosh, the affirmations, sorry. Was blanking there on the word. So the affirmations, I read a book by Hal Elrod called The Miracle Morning, and it talks about both of those things. And I don't know if you've read that book at all before, but he talks about starting his day with affirmations, silence. So like meditation, there's reading, there is exercise.
Visualization.
What was that?
The visualization.
And visualization, yes.
Yeah.
So those are the main things. Start off every morning. And so I started practicing all those things really at the beginning of this quarantine. And it definitely makes, I would say, a difference in terms of like me getting up and I'm like simply taking 5 to 10 minutes and like doing some sort of meditation or doing prayer, and just, it's a meaningful silence, but that's like that me time to start the day. Now, I don't have kids. I got the wife and 2 fur children who you saw Belle just, on my lap, and I'm hoping that she just stays calm and doesn't pee in the house right now. But so like, but that's my 5 to 10 minutes of me time right there. As far as the silence goes, and then doing those other things to just get off to a positive mindset and reduce stress, because exactly like with what you talked about is taking back control of your life as far as controlling the little bits that you can control is absolutely huge, because there's so many things that we can't control. And you hit on it as far as social media with Susie and her color-coded calendar,
which is great for her, but if it's stealing your joy or your need to do.
Right. And everyone needs to understand too, that like social media, that's literally a glimpse into these people's lives. And some people are either going to be so positive and they make your life look like you're doing everything wrong, and you're going to have the other way around where it's like everything's so negative. And I think we need to just limit like the amount that we try to process from social media. Like there's good information and everything like that out there, but at the same time, you just need to be careful with it.
Yeah, just be able to filter it. I think you're right. It just I mean, let's give credit where credit's due. I've been so encouraged by social media too, and seeing like the good in humanity right now, but checking in with yourself, I think, and just knowing what your boundaries are. Like, I don't want to do this comparison game, and I don't want to see people not loving on other people right now. Like, I don't have the capacity right now, or even, I mean, this is off topic, but like, you'll find me, if we're going to have a Netflix day, like this is a me thing. This is just a me thing. I can handle The Office right now. I can't handle Ozark. Like, I can't do that right now. So like, just being mindful of like how your body and your mind's feeling, and like what you're able to do, like what's keeping you healthy and keeping you going. There's nothing wrong with those things, but like, now's not the time for me.
Absolutely. Everyone processes things a little bit different, but season 3 of Ozark, I got to tell you what, that was amazing.
Am I missing out?
The ending was pretty mind blowing. That actually, this is definitely off topic, but as far as Ozark goes, like Jess didn't care for season 2. She fell off, and then season 3 I was watching, and she definitely got on board with that. So if you can't process it, don't right now, but it's a good
wait till after quarantine.
after quarantine, you can like save that to your list, What other do you have any other tips or tricks as far as for reducing stress in the household right now? I think everything you've hit on is excellent information.
Sure. I think, that co-regulation piece, and, parents have it. We did that this morning. I'm a small business owner, and like, I'm not going to lie and say that things aren't unknown right now or a little bit stressful. And my 20-month-old, we're both having a moment, and like, I needed to tap out in that moment and be like, call my husband, like, for backup, and just like knowing that like it's okay to not be okay, but like, it's not okay to stay in a place when we're aware that we don't make a plan to move forward on behalf of our kids and for ourselves. So just knowing, I think, checking in, establishing those routines, practicing gratitude, but then just from like an OT standpoint in general, like when we're in that heightened state of fight or flight, like we can't be making good decisions. And so knowing the strategies, and I love sensory strategies, because they work for me, they work for my kids, knowing the strategies that you need for your body to be calm. So right now, my saving grace is a weighted blanket. Like, I love that deep pressure touch. My son loves deep pressure touch. Do you hear my dogs now?
Yep. Mine's chewing on a bone right next to me, so I'm hoping this isn't getting picked up on audio. So it's all good.
It's great. there's a couple other sensory strategies too of really engaging in like multi-sensory experiences. So arts and crafts may seem silly to us as adults, but it's really, really good just to engage in those leisure activities that use your hands and allow you to get input through your hands. Obviously, physical exercise is fantastic. Anything that taps into the proprioceptive system with some stretch is going to be really good at calming that nervous system. Cooking right now, like the olfactory, getting the olfactory and the visual and the hands all involved in the same thing.
I just need to be
all of
careful
those
on what I cook, but yeah, you know.
Are you a good cook?
I can cook some decent things. It's more so anything like bad, like, oh, you know, like there's cooking. Like yesterday I made beef and broccoli. Okay. And then, which is okay for you, a little bit of sugar in it, but not too bad. But then there's like, you know, the Costco pizza, or we're gonna like go all out, and I don't know. I don't do a ton of baking, so I guess I don't have to worry about that so much because I don't really bake too much. But yeah, I do like cooking, but healthy cooking for sure. I'm always looking for different recipes and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's like now is a time too, where I think people who have kind of put off like experimenting in the kitchen have maybe some extra time to do that. If you're doing it with your kids, lower your expectations, like lower them.
Yeah.
But it's a really fun thing for kids to do, and just, I don't know, engaging, again, that meaningful and purposeful activity, even if it seems mundane, it's so important. And I don't know if you've had any days where like you don't get out of your jammies. I don't.
Oh yeah.
I've had those days, and I think that those are fine. But I think if we sustain that, like losing like our self-care of like brushing our teeth, taking a shower, not getting dressed, like it's okay to have a day here or there doing that. But like those are literal like occupations that hold our life together. If we give those up, it's a slippery slope of, I think, where we're gonna get with our mentality of getting it back together when quarantine's lifted.
I'm definitely guilty of a couple days of like get up, throw on, you know, I'm in sweats and hoodie, and that's it. I've got a polo on right now and like some work clothes, but I did have had a couple patients here today that I worked with, so that's really the only reason I'm dressed like this. Otherwise I'd likely just be in comfort clothes. So that's all really good. So where can if someone's got some kiddos and they need some help and everything like that, where can they find you? What's the best way to contact you?
Sure. So I think going to our website just to get some baseline information and kind of explore that way is always a great place to start. We have a video that's kind of like a snapshot, I feel like, of our culture at our clinic that I think has been really helpful for families just to see like what OT and speech therapy are like. So that's paperplanetherapies.com. We're active on social media, on Instagram. We're active on Facebook. And then they're also just welcome to contact us via phone or email. Right now, email is probably the best because we're not all in the office, and then I can certainly follow up with them in person. But I think anyone who wants to have a conversation, I feel like we are happy to just chat and see, like, is this what's going on? Like, could OT be something that's helpful for you? Is there somebody that I'm in contact or that I have a relationship with that might be a better referral source? But I think if anyone has any questions at all, just that conversation.
Yeah. Awesome.
Beginning that conversation is a good thing. It doesn't always mean, we're the right fit, but it could be.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what that phone call's for, right? To determine if you are the right fit. And then you're also doing telehealth visits, correct?
We are doing telehealth visits right now. Yep.
Yeah. So
it's we're a play-based, relationship-based clinic. So this is new to us, but it's been we've kind of just reframed what we're doing. And a lot of it has been working with parents, which is what we love to do anyways, is like empowering the parents to kind of be the therapist.
Yeah.
But telehealth is a great option right now while we're all spread out from each other and we can't see each other. So I think if anyone's considering services, in-person services, like start with a telehealth consult and just see if the therapist, the suggestions that they're offering you are in line with like your family values and what your goals are as far as a family. And I think it's a good option right now.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think it's, I've been doing the telehealth as well, trying to do that as much as I can with patients to just
Mhm.
practice social distancing and keeping everyone safe. And it's new for a lot of people. I think it's new for a lot of healthcare workers, as well as obviously patients and who need the treatment.
Mhm.
But overall, I think it's a positive thing, and people are still able to
Yeah,
get answers that they're looking for and get it
sure.
pretty immediately and from the comfort of their own home. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
Um, is
yeah.
there anything else you wanted to add in before we wrap up here?
I don't think so. I think
Yeah.
just take care of your mind, take care of your heart right now. You know, you're responsible for yourself and your family and making good choices for your community. So just putting those boundaries in place to keep your mind and your heart healthy and what it needs to be to get through this, because it's significant. This
Oh yeah,
is a big deal for a lot of people. So yeah.
absolutely. So thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's
Yeah.
been great to catch up. These are some awesome tips, and I think a lot of people are really going to benefit from that. So thanks a lot, Chelsey.
Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Hyperice. Hyperice is offering the Healthy Hustling podcast with Dr. Eric Broadworth listeners a discount on all their products, including the Hypervolt, the Venom 2.0, the Hypersphere, the Minisphere, and the Venom series, a 15% discount. Simply use the code FUELPT15, that's FUELPT15 at checkout to get a 15% discount on those products. That is good through the end of April. And then this episode is also brought to you by the Gentleman's Box. The Gentleman's Box is a men's fashion subscription box company based out of Detroit, Michigan. They offer a premium subscription box service and have a $300 value in their most recent box, all for just $100. And you can use special promo code FUEL, that's FUEL, to get their premium box for just $80. So be sure to check out the Gentleman's Box if you're into fashion and want to look good. Thanks so much again for listening, and be sure to subscribe to the Healthy Hustling podcast with Dr. Eric Broadworth on all major podcast channels, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts.